Charlie McGrath. It is the third day of July, the start of a long weekend for most, I hope. It is the third day of July 2014. My website is, what am I doing? My website is wideawakenews.com. If you're listening and not in the chat room, and you know what, I understand if you're not tonight. I'm hoping that everybody that had any kind of a week similar to what I had, or my guest tonight, co-host and all-around good guy Gary Hendershot. If you had a week like we did, I hope you are enjoying yourself. I hope you're listening to this program. But I hope when this is finished up and you settle into the long weekend, I hope you truly enjoy yourself as I plan on it, because this week has been just absolutely nutty chaotic as far as news goes, number one, and what I do for a day job, number two. It's just been one of those weeks that you would just as soon forget. So once again, if you are listening and not in the chat room, you want to join the folks in there, go to wideawakenews.com, click on the W.A.N radio tab, click on join the chat. You'll be in there. Gary Hendershot and myself are both hanging around in there, and we will take your questions, comments, and we might boot you out if you're getting all rowdy, right, Gary?
Shoot, man, I don't boot them out unless they start talking trash about my mama.
I think everybody's afraid to talk trash about your mama, Gary.
Well, us old Southern boys, we do take exception to that.
I do not blame you one bit. There's a lot of news this week. There was a couple of announcements I wanted to make. If you're tuning in, expecting to hear Eric Lovely. If you don't know, if you haven't heard the announcements we've made, Eric is working like a madman trying to take care of his family, and I've asked him to take 2 Thursdays a week instead of 4 Thursdays a week, just to give him time to get done what he needs to get done without the pressure of having to put together a program. And he agreed to do so. So if you're tuning in tonight expecting to hear Eric, I apologize. Tune back in next Thursday. He'll be, whoa. Wow. You hear this? I got
my dog.
I got a Mad Max situation going. This is my brother's dog.
Are you dog sitting?
I'm dog sitting. And guess what? He apparently, that's hilarious.
Well, I hate to say it, but I've been dog sitting for my daughter recently,
right?
And this dog of hers, get all settled in for the night, sleeping nice and sound, and you think you're going to be able to get some sleep, and at all hours of the night, the dog will just jump up and start barking, and I swear sometimes it's a gnat half a mile away farted or something, and the dog just goes nuts.
Yeah, well. This one just went from calm and mellow, and it's the cutest dog in the entire world, to absolutely BS crazy. And so I shut the door to the studio here, trying to keep it open because it's hotter than blazes in Bozeman, Montana tonight. It's about 90 degrees, and the humidity is rising because we have some thunderstorms rolling in. But hopefully,
I was a little concerned because we've got a hurricane sliding up the East Coast. Now I don't think it's going to make it as far north as I am. I'm just a little bit south of Washington, D.C., and it looks like most of the really nasty stuff is going to hit well south of me down North Carolina and southeastern Virginia. Mm-hmm. We may get some thunderstorms and some wind here, they've been saying, and we had a little bit of rain this afternoon. But, one of the side benefits of this thing apparently is that by tomorrow, early afternoon, and for the balance of the weekend, we're supposed to have great weather with, a lot less humidity than we've had recently. Of course, this is Virginia, so when you start talking about 90 degrees and a lot of humidity, welcome to my world. You get that, 3 days out of the year? That's the entire summer here.
Yeah, well, and, I've spent a little, as my sister lives in Alabama. Sorry about that. And I've spent a little bit of time down there. And I don't know how you deal with that. I really don't. And it's probably a bit worse in Alabama than where you're at. Would you say?
I'm in Northern Virginia, just a little south of Washington.
But you're kind of in by Washington. So are you in the mountains of Virginia there or close to them?
No, I mean what they call the Piedmont. It's the flatlands between the tidewater area, the area that gets flooded in a tsunami, and the mountains.
So it is packed with humidity then.
Oh yeah. But it's like everything else. You get used to it. Now, see, in my area, we might get 4 or 5 days out of the year where we have a snow. Yeah. And 4 or 5 times a year, I might have to get out there and shovel my driveway or hire the little, I'm getting too old to shovel a driveway, so I hire the neighborhood kids to do it. But, 4 or 5 days out of the year, we see a little bit of snow. And around here, all they have to do is say snow on the television. Everybody starts driving like an idiot. You think you're going to get killed on the road. Where, in your area in the wintertime, I'm sure, you see a lot of snow. So, you're used to it. It's like everything. So, in the summertime, we're just used to hot and humid. That's what we live with.
I made the comment to my girlfriend yesterday that, look, I would rather drive in Montana in the dead of winter with 3 feet of snow on the ground. And, I mean, it's almost like people drive better here when there's some inclement weather, when there's a bunch of snow on the ground. And the other benefit to driving in Montana in the dead of winter is I had to drive to a city called Billings. I don't know if you're in Billings, Montana, but it's a large city in Montana, and I had to spend the day over there day before yesterday. And Billings is about 130 miles from where I'm at now. So it should be taking me about 2 hours to get there. But it took me nearly 3.25 hours to get there because of road construction. Just these, a lot of them seem like boondoggle projects, but all this road construction going on. And in the winter, there is no road construction. I mean, you can make better time in February than you can in June and July in this country. But yeah, to answer to your point, we are very much used to driving in a lot of snow, and I mean, a lot, feet of snow.
In your area, people are accustomed to snow, so when there's snow on the ground, they drive appropriately for the weather. Around here, there's so many that are just totally unaccustomed to snow. They get out there in their low-slung BMW sports car and try to do 90 miles an hour through a 2-foot snowdrift, Yep. I mean, they're just absolutely crazy because they're not accustomed to it. They haven't had to deal with it on a regular basis. So it's like everything else, Charlie. You get used to a certain pattern of the weather based on, where you've grown up, where you've lived for an extended period of time. And after a while, it's just normal. Everybody else, how can you stand that hot and humidity? Hey, that's just normal from my point of view. That's what we're accustomed to.
At least you have nice, smooth, soft skin.
Yeah. Well, not at my age. It's kind of like an alligator skin. But yeah, in my youth. But anyway, what are the hot news items? I mean, we should probably not be boring people with our trivial discussions.
Hey, you know what?
Driving in nasty weather. I mean, what's the hot item in the news today that got your dander up?
Well,
you don't have any dander. That's right.
I don't have any dander.
You got that crazy doomsday doom.
It is. It's an Armageddon cut, and
the Armageddon cut.
I don't have a dander issue. I got a dog freaking out. I don't know what's going on. For all I know, I'm having SWAT raid the house. But, but I haven't heard gunshots yet whacking the dog, so I'm assuming it's just freaking out for no reason. But obviously, some of the news in the mainstream media today. Is Dow Jones all-time record high 17,000, cracked the 17,000. I'm not even sure where it finished, but I do know that it cracked the 17,000 mark today, and there was celebration. Even though, and along with the great jobs numbers that came out, and Gary, it continues to baffle me how. We can take a pig, put some lipstick on it, and call it, a date, and that's kind of what I think of when we look at Dow Jones 17,000 points, and I think, if nothing, this is almost as large of an insult as that is imaginable to have the country in the economic situation that it's in, hardworking people like you, Gary, who are just busting your hump. In order to make less money than you did, a decade ago and work twice as hard. And it isn't just the case in the tech world where you're at. It's the case in every aspect of the economy. People are absolutely killing themselves to make less money than they did. And in a lot of cases, they've realized they're better off to jump on the disability bandwagon or just to stay unemployed because they can't go out and earn the kind of money that they can get riding the wave of recovery. And that's what it is. I mean, that's what it is when you have. I'm sure with the Dow going over 17, with all the investments you've got in stocks and all that, I'm sure you cracked open a bottle of high dollar champagne and toasted. I'm sure it was just a tremendous impact for you, wasn't it? I warmed up the SS Fat Cat. And I'm gonna take it out to Catalina this weekend.
Wow! Yeah. I'll tell you what, that's good for you with all But I mean, for most,
look who's talking. The Gold Baron of Virginia. That's what I call you. By the way, I call you the Goldsmith. But
yes, my name is Jaime Goldsmith. And I got such a nice pile of coinage here for you. Only a little bit of tungsten has seen it.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, so I saw that in the news. Obviously, if you take a scan at Drudge, you're going to be inundated with stories on the immigration deal. Over and over and over again. We're going to play this. We're going to play this game right through the midterm. And once again, news that is engineered to elicit a response from you, the listening audience. Be mad at everybody. Be mad at the other team, be mad and distracted.
Well, yeah, let's get everybody to blame them brown people who are sneaking over the border. It's all their fault.
Yeah, they took my job.
Yeah, and let's gin up some hostility between the two parties, so we can not pay attention to the real criminals, the real criminals that are still in power. The real criminals that saw Dow Jones 6,000 that helped bring that about. And real criminals.
You heard about the bit with Facebook, right? I mean, that spent about 30 seconds in the news. I guess some of the alternative media is still making a deal out of it, but you heard about the little trick that Facebook played on all of its users.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And you think about it, and okay, now here's Facebook running a scam on people just to gauge their reaction. Supposedly it was a study just to gauge people's reactions. I don't buy it. I think they did it on purpose. I think they were purposely trying to manipulate that. Now, they may have been testing a new methodology, but if people out there don't think that type of thing has been going on forever and ever and ever, I mean, it's welcome to the evening news with Betty Big Boobs and the guy with the really sharp $200 haircut.
Betty Big Boobs. I want to meet her.
Oh, you want to meet her, huh? Well, she's on the news every night at 6.
No wonder I'm here.
The blonde with the cleavage,
that's every establishment news there is. I mean, that's how that's part of the TNA infotainment.
Exactly, and that's what it is. It's just bloody entertainment, and it's intended to mold your way of thinking. Yeah. And this thing with Facebook is just in your face, an example of what they've been doing to us for so many years.
Yeah.
I just shrug my shoulders. Everybody thinks this is all new. This has been going on for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, I mean, the levels, though, you and I have talked about this before, but the levels and the intensity. And
let's get to the point where it's right out in your face. I mean, it's getting to be, downright obscene.
And on all levels, right? At every turn, you're seeing this kind of activity and corruption and distraction and a nation that if we could take the condition of everything right now, Gary, and go back to your generation and drop it on them and let them wake up in 1967 turn the clock back 1967, but have the same kind of overreach by this government, the same kind of control by corporate special interest, and the same kind of the development of the security and military industrial complex. If this occurred, if it wasn't the slow immersion, and we flash back to the mentality of 67. '67, where people, they were ready to fight and die for the civil rights issue, or fight and die over the Vietnam issue, and they weren't afraid to show up en masse in Washington D.C. to get the hell beat out of them, and to sit there and absolutely say enough is enough. We're not gonna budge an inch. Even if that generation came to be today, man, it would be an absolute revolution, literal revolution.
Well, today, today, they've got the kids so involved with their, cell phones and trying to get Popeye thumbs from texting on their smartphone. You see the way they do it, man? They can text faster than I can type using just 2 thumbs. It blows my mind. But of course, they got these massive Popeye thumbs. It's really funky looking.
You got thumb envy, don't you?
Yeah, I got thumb envy because those youngsters nowadays, little bitty little skinny blonde chick, with thumbs the size of my thighs.
Carpal tunnel by the time they're 22.
Yeah, carpal tunnel at 22. But they're so wrapped up in that. That I think they're living vicariously through the internet. Believe me, I'm all in favor of the internet. I make a lot of money off the internet. The internet helps pay my mortgage. So I'm not saying let's turn off the internet. But
and let's be clear, you're making a lot of money off the internet, but it ain't hosting.
Well, no, it ain't hosting internet radio. I can tell you that. Right. But the bottom line is the internet is a great thing, but it's just like television. I mean, every once in a while, something comes on TV that's probably worth watching. I don't know. I haven't turned mine on in years, but I'm sure there is some decent programming on the television. But every once in a while, it's not such a bad idea to put that thing down, walk away from it. Maybe go outside and play some ball or mow the lawn or get involved in real life. Nowadays, I think way too many people spend way too much time living vicariously as an internet avatar. Avatar, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to argue that. I got a 14-year-old, and and although he's, I think, for 14 years old, he's very awake, and his passion is politics and geopolitics, and I'm not talking like being a politician, but he, political news and that kind of thing. He's kind of follows what I do, and so I think of all of his friends, he's the only one that has that kind of interest. But even in his case, I feel that he spends too much time on some of the social media sites, and it's easy for these kids, and some of them do. They get completely and utterly wrapped up in it, and could really care less about anything else that's going on.
So what's allowed? What do the little old ladies in tennis shoes allow you to have for your Independence Day celebration? Here in Virginia, I think we're now restricted to sparklers.
We can have fireworks still. I mean, some
of the good stuff, some of the whoosh bang type stuff.
Oh yeah, some of the whoosh bang that you were longing for. Now you're going to have thumb envy and whoosh bang envy.
Oh God, am I going to have whoosh bang envy? I remember the 4th of July when we really used to. I mean, my dad would spend I don't know, $20-$30 back when $20-$30 was a lot of money. We'd be putting stuff up in the air that went whoosh bang almost all night long for $20-$30. I mean, nowadays, about the best I can get is these, the little smoky snake things and the sparklers. I mean, that's what whoever the hell they are, have decided I am competent to deal with.
Is that all of Virginia or just where you're at?
I think it's all of Virginia. I think you got to go down to South Carolina or up to Pennsylvania to get some of the good stuff.
Well, that's because you're too civilized.
And then if you get caught bringing it across the border, it's almost like having a pound of weed.
Well, you're a terrorist then. You're trying to smoke explosives.
You've been looking like a terrorist. We'll put you under the jail.
We can still have bottle rockets. We can have Roman candles, firecrackers. I mean, I don't know if there's restrictions as far as that from when I was even a kid. I think we can still get anything that is gettable. I mean, even like M80s and stuff, you can give the guy a little nod, and he'll go back to his station wagon, and you can have some. So
if you're really pissed off at the neighbor, you can still blow his mailbox right off the stick, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
What about tannerite? Can you buy tannerite in? And if you don't know what that is,
well, I do know what it is, but
okay.
I can get it, but it's you got to sign for it. You got to It's like,
see, I mean,
it's like buying pistol ammunition. If you go to buy pistol ammunition here in the state of Virginia, you got to prove that you're old enough, and you got to present ID, and you got to fill out paperwork and all this happy nonsense.
Something different than like rifle ammo.
Yeah, if you go buy rifle ammunition, you just put it on the counter, hand them your money, and you're out. Even an 18-year-old kid or a 16-year-old kid can buy rifle ammunition.
But handgun, you got to give them your.
And unfortunately, this is going to make a lot of people in the chat room laugh. But hey, you got to remember, this is Virginia. Okay, we have some fairly backward laws here. I think in Virginia it's still. Ooh, I'm hearing music.
You are?
Yeah, I think we got a break, man. I think we're going to have to cut out of here. You announce it.
I'll announce it. We're about to take our first break on this third day of July. Special 4th of July Recovery Dow Jones 17,000 edition. We'll be right back with more Wide Awake News Radio. Charlie McGrath, Gary Hendershot. Hang tight. All right, welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. The 3rd of July, long weekend, right ahead of us. Gary Hendershot and I just kind of hanging out, shooting the breeze tonight, talking about the onerous firework laws in Virginia. And
but before we get back on that, let me finish my thought from before the break. It's at my age, if I don't finish a thought while it's still in my head, it's gone forever.
Yeah. Get it out.
What I was going to say about buying ammunition. I mean, you would think, if you and your kid, you say you've got what, 14-year-old boy?
I do.
Now you would think that a 14-year-old kid, you ought to be able to send him up to the hardware store to get a box of 5,000 rounds of 22, and it'd be no problem, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if they're gonna let a kid that age have any kind of ammunition, you would figure that 22 would be on the list of approved for kids to shoot.
Right.
All right. Well, in the state of Virginia, because 22 ammunition fits in a pistol, a kid can't buy it. Your daddy has to go buy it for you.
Well, I don't think that. Well, I don't think. I know. I don't that my kid could buy any ammunition, because even here you have to be 18 years old to buy ammo. That's just the way it is.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah, I think here in Virginia, they'll let a 16-year-old buy rifle ammunition.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That is what doesn't make sense. I mean, if you ask, if you're asking my opinion, what's more deadly, a 7.62 by 39 or a 5.56, or for your 223 or your AR-15, or a 45 ACP, give me a break. If you...
But don't let them have any of that dangerous 22.
yeah. Or 22.
Now, I'm sorry. I had to get that out there because, if I don't complete a thought while I've still got it, it's gone.
Yeah,
forever.
You lose it. I understand.
Yeah, I mean, it's called old timer's disease.
It's the Crypt Creeper disease.
Yeah, but let's get back on this fireworks stuff. Now, you were telling me, okay, what are you going to do for 4th of July tomorrow? Have you got something special planned?
Yeah, I sure do, Gary Hendershot. It's funny you should ask. I am taking a coworker tomorrow. His name is Sam. Sam and I, at 8:30 in the morning, are going to load up a ton of my weaponry, and we are going to go out shooting in the morning. And did you happen to see? I know you're really busy working your tail off, but I know you on occasion follow some of the quick little shooting videos I put out. Did you happen to see the shooting video where I had the AK-47 and I was shooting the blocks of ice?
Yeah, I think I did see that.
Okay, well I did that Monday night. I took my brother out and I tried to do what I'm going to do tomorrow, which is I loaded my AR-15. I loaded my AK-47, SKS, AK-74, Mosin Nagant. My son brought his .308 hunting rifle. So I had, 7.62 by 39. I had 5.56. I had 5.45 by 39. I had 7.62 by 54R. And then, I don't know if I said it around 7.62 by 51. So I had all these different calibers, and I had all these blocks of ice there. And they're about 8-inch by 8-inch. 12 inches long, and the plan was to go out, set out at 25 yards, and see what the different calibers did to these solid blocks of ice. And so all the guns are loaded. We drive out, and it's about a half-hour drive to where I like to go shoot.
By the time you get there, they're all melted.
No, I had them all in coolers. Everything was going great to the plan. And get out there, set up the shooting table, go out and set up the first block of ice. Get my son up there with his .308 and go to grab the ammunition, and guess what? I left the bag of ammunition all sitting at home.
Oh no.
Yeah. So Yeah. Yeah, and it was like 8:30.
All dressed up and no place to go.
It was absolutely impotent to be out there with all the weapons and nothing to do. So I had.
And you tried Viagra and it just didn't work. Huh?
It didn't work. I happened to have though a stripper clip full of 7.62 by 39 for the SKS that was in a little pouch that was attached to the SKS. So I had 10 rounds that we could dink around with and shoot these blocks of ice with the AK-47. So it was kind of cool. But tomorrow I'm loading them all up again. I'm going to bring the ammo this time, and because I want to see. I mean, the 7.62 39 smashes the blocks of ice pretty thoroughly. But I think the 7.62 by 54R from the Mosin and the 308 is going to absolutely, eviscerate it. And I think that the smaller AK-74 and the AR-15, I think they're going to hardly, I think they're just going to knock off a chunk. I don't think they're going to destroy it like the bigger rounds.
Oh, you're probably right. And this is how you're going to celebrate the independence of the United States is by.
Damn right. I'm going to free the state from a few more blocks of ice.
Well, I used to get a big kick out of going to see the down at the mall in Washington, just outside the Washington Monument.
Yeah,
they usually put on a big fireworks show.
Yeah,
and of course, I'm old enough to remember, the Doobie Brothers and the California Surfer Band. What were whatever? But we'd go down there, we'd hear all the bands play, and then we'd see the big fireworks display. And it was a rather significant event. But it's been real hard to get excited about an Independence Day celebration over the last, I don't know, 8, 10, 12 years. I don't think I've been down there to see it in probably 15 years. I understand they still put it on, but I just haven't felt motivated to go down there and participate. I don't feel like I've got a whole lot to celebrate.
Yeah, and I know exactly what you're talking about. And the same thing I kind of feel on Memorial Day, because we're cranking out, wounded vets like crazy and damaged vets like crazy.
And then not even taking care of them.
Right. And then not even taking care of them, and then trying to, foment the next engagement. So yeah, I do know what you're talking about. And I just as soon do something that is either with friends or family or fun rather than, mourn the loss of a republic. And that's kind of what it's turned into for me.
Yeah, I think we're going to do our usual Independence Day celebration.
Yeah, what is that?
We're going to have one hell of a fine cookout. There's going to be some fine steaks on the grill. We're going to put together a nice feast. I'm going to invite the in-laws over, the outlaws, whatever.
Yeah,
but we're going to invite them over. We're going to have a nice cookout, plenty of food. Everybody sit around, drink themselves silly and eat until they can't stand up.
What do you drink there in Kentucky on the 4th of July? Is it a beer thing with the steak?
Well,
I mean, not Kentucky. You're in Virginia, man.
Well, for me, it's probably going to be iced tea. I can't. I talk big about drinking and all that kind of stuff, but that's memories from long ago. But no, we're wine connoisseurs around here. We get the really good wine. It comes in a box for $3, gallons.
Yeah, the good stuff.
Yeah, the good stuff. We'll break out the good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, instead of the paper cups, we might actually break out the plastic.
Well, there you go. It's 4th of July after that. Maybe get the red, white, and blue plastic cups from Costco.
Yeah, well, or that red Solo cup party. That always makes for a good party. But I'm seeing in the chat, Hawks is talking about moonshine. Believe me, in my area, good shine is available. There is stuff that knock your head off, but
is it legal now in Virginia? You can make moonshine for yourself.
Well, it's always been legal to make 200 gallons a year for your own personal consumption.
Yeah.
As long as you don't piss anybody off, that you can get away with having a small still and making 200 gallons per year for your own personal consumption. Where you get into trouble is if you sell mason jar full to your neighbor. Then they'll bust you and throw you under the jail.
That's because the government doesn't get its little.
That's right. They don't get the piece of the action. You know, if Don Guido don't get his piece of the action, you can bet that Louis the Legbreaker going to pay you a visit.
200 gallons a year? Who that? What is that? That's almost like a 3/4 of a gallon a day. That's a lot of booze.
Well, you know, back in the day, they used to drink. You know, I mean,
the water was bad.
The water was bad. Yeah, the only liquid they could consume was, and they used it for everything too. You know. I'm hearing that music again, Charlie. You going to announce the break?
Sure, you bet. When we come back, one story I do want to talk about a little bit is Ukraine. I'm pounding that drum. Pay attention. We'll cover that when we come back. We'll be right back with more Wide Awake News Radio. Hang tight. All right, welcome back. I'm having trouble here in the studio.
But trip over your microphone cord?
No, I'm having trouble here in the studio. So
you've got a studio. I do this out of my man cave. It's a 200 square feet of hovel in the basement of my home. I mean,
Whatever. It might be 200 square feet, but it's packed with $200,000 worth of the latest and greatest technology, satellite feed. Hey, you got it all.
I got some good toys, but I don't think it's worth $200,000. I got a few bucks put in. But in any case, you wanted to rant and rave a little bit about Ukraine, and I've got to agree with you. That is kind of a scary scenario. But aren't you at least going to touch on this, new boogeyman that's kicking our ass over in Iraq?
Baghdadi?
I think they call it's either ISIS or ISIL or whatever.
Yeah, ISIS, but Baghdadi is the leader that spent
Ooh, I got to be looking for Baghdadi. Is that his name?
Baghdadi, yeah.
I got to be looking for Baghdadi underneath my bed every night, boy. That boy, he's going to come out here and get me.
He's going to come get your rights, and you know what? And if anybody can do it, it's him, because he spent several years in custody of the United States military in Camp Boka in Iraq. So he is a absolutely, in my opinion anyway, and there's very little reason to doubt this. He's a very well could have been trained up to be in the position he is now. And even if he wasn't, even if he wasn't CIA to the point where he's an absolute plant, and he just after his capture and his detainment for several years, decided he was going to go from a mid-level bad guy to a high-level bad guy. We can't forget that ISIS, ISIL, whatever named it, and actually I think they're trying to shy away from this name now. They're trying to establish himself as the state or the country, because they're claiming to be the Islamic State. So I think we're going to start to see them shift away from the moniker of ISIS or ISIL. But this group, Gary, and I have talked about it in videos and on other programs. Come on, this is funded by us. These guys got their start
through the Saudis.
Yes, definitely through the Saudis, but let's not forget there's a big chunk of these guys that were al-Nusra Front inside of Syria.
Sure.
And you still have McCain. McCain coming out today, in fact, talking about we have to give more weaponry to the folks in the freedom fighters inside of Syria.
So they can use them against us in Iraq.
Yeah. This crap never ends, Gary. It just never ends. And it's the same people over and over again. We got to arm the Syrian rebels. Well, we did that. It was called al-Nusra Front, a.k.a. Al-Qaeda, is a.k.a. now ISIS and ISIL. I mean, it is unbelievable to me. We're creating, we're supposed to all be afraid of terrorists and all be on the lookout and on the guard for people coming over here to steal our rights and our freedom, but we're creating it. We're literally we're making terrorist factories, and we're churning them out like they're widgets in a factory.
So what's your take on what's going on in Ukraine?
Ukraine is something that I've watched and been interviewed on several times on RT and Press TV on it, and done several videos on it since the absolute beginning. I mean, since before the fall of the elected government, and certainly before Poroshenko, the Chocolate King, was in office, and using his what a creepy looking dude, by the way.
He was into porn and dope before he got into chocolate, so
well, he's an oligarch, and he's rich. He's the third or fourth richest guy in Ukraine, and he's in bed with the West. But this situation is deteriorating from bad to worse. I remember back 6 months ago, is that right? Yeah, maybe 4 months ago, I was called, I was being told that I was being sensational by an RT reporter on an RT interview because I said this is going to continue to fall apart and get worse, not because I had a crystal ball, but because the situation is so blatantly obvious. I mean, it is obvious to all the players, all the actors, that the West, namely the United States, spent $5 billion taxpayer dollars, initiated 60-plus programs through quasi-government agencies, the National Endowment for Democracy, and we helped, without a doubt, we had a major role in toppling the elected government there, and it was all for the want of the International Monetary Fund and getting Ukraine as a full-fledged member of NATO and into the European Union. And this is all right in the face of Russia. And Russia has no desire to be having NATO that much closer to their borders, not to mention, their largest pipeline that runs out of their country runs right through Ukraine. One of their most lucrative pathways is through Ukraine to get energy to Europe. So they have a very much vested interest in keeping the United States and Western influence at the minimum inside of Ukraine. So when the government fell and the Western-backed puppets were starting to be, groups like the far-right sector, a neo-Nazi group that was supported by us, the American taxpayer. When
strangely enough, by George Soros.
Yeah, right.
Strange bedfellows,
Indeed,
because these are nice Presbyterian boys.
Yeah, right. Until they wanted to line up the cattle cars and having start carrying papers with them. This was obviously going to continue to get worse. Week and a half ago, Poroshenko decided he was going to announce a ceasefire and issued all kinds of threats at the front end of that ceasefire. And it was supposed to end Friday. They extended it to Monday. But as soon as it had run its course, man, oh man, did the bloodshed pick up again. And, just scores and scores of people killed in shelling, air bombing in villages that have nothing to do with these.
And as usual, the only people dying are the civilians. I mean, the armed resistance was nowhere near where the armed resistance pulled back because they knew it was going to come.
Absolutely.
And,
absolutely.
They're so it hasn't even really started yet, Charlie,
No,
and eventually, whether he likes it or not, I really don't think Putin wants to have to send troops in there. I really don't think he wants to have to do that.
I think he will.
I don't think he's going to have any choice.
I think he absolutely. Well, here's the deal. Today they announced, ceasefire 2.0. And
that must mean the Kiev faction ran out of bullets and needed to go back home and get some more bullets.
What I think they are being exposed for what they are, which are truly the terrorists. I mean, they're bombing the hell out of these villages, women, children, being killed by artillery strikes and airstrikes. It isn't going unnoticed. Even though you have to hunt long and hard to find it in U.S. news. RT is on the job, and so is Press TV, and they're in their show, with these videos, and you can find them. I'm doing all I can to post as many as I can on my website, but this isn't going away. I think that they're feeling Poroshenko and the Western-backed regime that's in there now is feeling pressure because of their tactics. So yes, they're talking about ceasefire 2.0, but they can talk all they want. It's supposed to begin as early as Saturday. But, the people of Ukraine are not represented. Wall Street is represented. The International Monetary Fund is.
Let's be honest, Charlie. The people of Ukraine were not represented with the previous government. I mean, they were Moscow shills. And right. The guys that are there now, they're IMF shills. But, let's face it, the people don't get any representation regardless of which group is in power. And when the shooting starts, the poor schmucks who just want to play in their garden and sit out in the sun and relax and go to work during the morning, they're the ones that are going to bleed, and the people who are conducting the military operations, if you will, they only get together when they think it's to their advantage. I mean, most of the time it's just average civilians who are going to take the heat.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you're not wrong there. But I do think that the current situation is. I don't know what else you could possibly blame it on. I mean, I know that we're supposed to think Putin. This all started because Putin invaded, and or I don't know if the right word is invaded,
annexed
Crimea. Yeah, and if that's the only story you have about half the truth, because there was a lot of activity that happened that led up to that. So, namely, the government that was in power was toppled. And it was really obvious that a puppet IMF government was going in there. And, the ceasefire that occurred was scheduled to end on Friday, which happened to be the same day that Poroshenko lived up to his master's request and signed a deal with the EU to get money from the IMF into the coffers of the Ukraine government. And all of that money is going to be paid for on the backs of the people of Ukraine. So they're really screwed one way or the other. They're either going to be in the middle of a war zone. If the Western-backed government prevails, they're going to have the full force of the International Monetary Fund's austerity thrust onto them. If Russia holds, their best option at this point, looking at all sides of the equation, probably is Russia coming in and flexing their military muscle, because the other side of that equation, you're either a complete and utter what's the right word to use without getting in trouble? You are nothing more than a prostitute, and the IMF is your pimp.
Well, somehow I have a funny feeling that regardless of how it plays out, the U.S. taxpayer is going to take it on the chin. I mean, I understand we're going to wind up getting the bill for Fukushima now. So, yeah.
Let's break that down in the last
apparently, Barry Soetoro, or whatever his name is this week, cut a deal with Japan, and we're going to indemnify General Electric for their culpability in the Fukushima mess.
Awesome.
And it's probably going to run into the hundreds of billions of dollars.
How'd that go?
Well, it's out there. It's being reported. It's something that I'll be barking at the moon about on Monday. It's just one more little poke in the butt.
Yeah, I know we're about to wrap up, but I want to say good job on your Monday programs. I listen to as much as I can of every single one of them. I usually at about an hour after it's broadcast or after you have it uploaded, I get to sit down and listen to a little bit of Gary barking at the moon. Always a good program.
Well, it's like everything else. I can't really change anything. I can't, but when that much stuff during the course of a week really, really, really pisses me off, at least I can yell and scream about it and get it off my chest, and then get on with my week. Because like everybody else, I've got bills to pay.
No doubt about it. And and like I said at the beginning of the program, we're all working. At least I see this. We're all working a lot harder to earn to earn less than we did a decade ago.
Oh, there's that music, Charlie. I can feel the hook coming out. They're about to drag us out of here.
They are. I hope you have fun drinking your iced tea and some good sirloins. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight in the chat. If you are in the chat and you want to listen to me and Dirty Doug Owen, we are about to record our next installment of Doomcast. You can go to doomcast.com and stay in the Wide Awake News chat and listen to the feed there. And we'll be live here probably about 5 minutes or so. All right, guys, thank you very much. Everybody will be running a free broadcast. The whole network's running a free broadcast tomorrow, the 4th of July. I hope everybody has a safe 4th of July, and we will be back Monday with regular broadcasting. Gary Hendershot's barking at the moon come Monday. All right, have a good weekend. We'll talk to everybody next week. Peace.